Hello everyone, it's Noah here and we're back with another triple structure deck video. This time around we are going to go for Burning Spirits and try to make a competitive Salamangreat deck by using just 3 copies of the structure deck. Now I have established previously, staples in the bundle deal such as these tries you see here will also be included in my deck list, not just to give the deck more of a competitive edge, but also I do believe everyone should be buying these bundles first thing in the game anyway, so these 5 cards here are fair game for the purposes of this video. Without further ado, introducing Salamangreat. This deck has actually been really successful for me, even against meta decks such as Spright, which you'll see later on. But first, let me go for the card by card. Now Salamangreat is a fire Cyberse archetype that aims to just summon a bunch of monsters and climb into its powerful link monsters. Their individuality comes in their field spell, which allows them to summon their link monsters by using themselves as material, and then they gain extra effects by doing that. Let's go over the card by card really quick. First, I have Salamangreat Mole, which is a free special summon, and it allows you to recycle your graveyard and draw 2 cards as well if the game draws quite late. Salamangreat Mirror is also another free special summon. It can be summoned when you draw with your hand, which can be really useful if you already use Mole that turn and you wanna search something with something like Lady Debug. Speaking of Lady Debug, this is a normal summon, which adds a level 3 or lower Cyberse monster from your deck on normal summon. You can search cards like Mole or Mirror to get an extension. Another one of your normal summons is Salamangreat Foxy, which on normal summon excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you found a Salamangreat, you can add it to your hand. Also, while it's in the graveyard, it can come back if there's a field spell on board, and it can even destroy a face-up spell trap if you need it. Then we have Flame Buffalo, which is also a pretty good normal summon where if it leaves the field, for example if you linked it into a link monster, then you can discard the cyber monsters to draw 2 cards, which is pretty good for recycling your hands. I have one Foxy. This comes up for spell trap removal because sometimes your opponent is just on too many floodgates and you do need the one so that you can search it and remove those floodgates if need be. Next we have Gazelle, arguably the best card in the Salamangreat, where if a Salamangreat is sent to the graveyard, you can special it from your hand, and on normal or special summon, you can send a Salamangreat card to your graveyard. You can use Gazelle to send powerful spell traps, which can be added with your link monsters later on. Salamangreat Spinny is basically another special summon, where when it's in the graveyard you can summon it, but then you banish it when it leaves the field. It can also discard itself to give it attached, so it can just special summon itself by first discarding and then summoning from the graveyard. Paltry is a bit of a niche one, but it does allow you to recycle your spells and bounce your own monsters if you need it, so it's not that bad at all. Yeah, Chedrar is pretty good, which is a free special from the graveyard by shuffling another Salamangreat into your deck, and you can just use it once every turn, so it's pretty good to have this in the graveyard. Howl is also one of the optional ones. It's a free special if you summon another Salamangreat. I've been saying this all day, but pretty much every Salamangreat card feels like a free special. And it can also deal with set spell traps, depends on what your opponent's playing, so it's not bad to have a one-off just to search it. Lastly, I'm playing the Raid Buster, because the structure that is low on payoffs, so I do think a 2500 with a crit effect banish is pretty decent, and it's fire too, so it works with the deck pretty well. We are on triple Signet Mining and triple Salamangreat Circle to basically search our Stardust. Salamangreat Circle can add any Salamangreat from your deck to your hand, and Mining allows you to discard one and add any level 4 or lower Cyberse from your deck to your hand. Will of the Salamangreat is a continuous spell which summons Salamangreats from your hand or graveyard, which is really good not just for extension, but also you can just bring back your link 3s in the late game from the graveyard with it. We are on the 1 Sanctuary because it's really easily searchable, and it allows your Salamangreat monsters to re-link themselves into higher forms, which we'll come back to later when we get into the extra deck. For the spell traps, we have Salamangreat Rage, which allows you to destroy your opponent's card if you control a Salamangreat link monster, and Salamangreat Roar, which allows you to negate a spell trap or a monster effect if you control a Salamangreat link monster. So these are pretty strong if you have a Salamangreat established on the field. Now first we are on the Lightning Storm. If you are forced to draw second, we can clear boards with it, and Solemn Judgment is pretty good to set up turn 1, since Salamangreat Roar is hard once per turn, you can have 2 negates this way. And it's very important for this deck to have many hand traps because it draws many cards. So of course we have Ash Blossom and Joy Sprint, which is really good because since it's a fire, you can even add this back to from your graveyard to your hand, and Infinite Impermanence to have more negates. I'm also playing Mad Hatter from the Stretcher deck. This is like a really bad hand trap, but we really need more hand traps in this deck, and we don't really have any access to it anymore. So I think it's good enough for the triple Stretcher deck purposes. But if you were to improve this deck further, I would suggest to swap it with more popular hand traps. For the extra deck, we are playing everything we can. We have triple Balings, which is a starter as a linked one, and when it's summoned, you can add your field spell to your hand, and while it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to protect one of your Salamangreats, which is pretty useful. Sunlight Wolf is your link too, and it's pretty good. It allows you to recycle back a fire monster if a monster is summoned to its linked house, and this can get back even cards like Ash Blossom or the Great Buster, which is why it's really good. And if you resummon this using the field spell's effect and itself as the material, you can add back a Salamangreat spell trap from your graveyard to your hand, which is where the Zell comes in, where it sends cards like Roar or Rage to the graveyard, and then Sunlight Wolf can add them back. Your link 3 is Heat Leo. It shuffles an opponent's spell trap back into their deck on summon, which is pretty good, and when you resummon it using the field spell's effect, it allows you to modulate the attack of a monster, and allows you to easily run over your opponents. Finally, we have Detroit Total Heat Soul. This card is also really good, but in this Stretcher deck there are some problems. First, it requires Cyberse monsters with different attributes, so you really need a card like Lady D-Bar to be able to make this, as there are no non-fire extra deck monsters in the Stretcher deck. It allows you to pay 1000 life points to draw a card, and you can do this every turn, in your turns and your opponent's turn, which generates a really good card advantage. But as it is not a Salamangreat monster, you won't be able to activate your traps such as Roar or Rage, so just keep that in mind. But I've been rambling on for long enough, so let's get into some gameplay. For our first match, we're against Live Twin Sprite, although I do not know that yet. So we're going to start with a Circle, and that's going to bait an Ash Blossom, which is pretty good because you would be in a much worse shape if they Ash the Lady D-Bard. So now, we're free to normal summon the Lady D-Bard and add the Mirror to our hand for a free special. With Mirror, we're going to link it and go into Salamangreat Balings. On summon, Baling is going to add the field spell to our hand, but they will stop this by using their infinite empowerments. It's a little rough, but it's actually fine for us, as we had no intention of using the field spell this turn anyway. We're going to use the Spinny's effect to give it attack, and then its second effect to banish it and summon it to the monster, summon to a link zone that it points to. Then it allows us to go into Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. Now we can link Sunlight Wolf and Lady D-Bard and summon Detroit Total Heat Soul, which is going to allow us to pay 1000 life points to draw a card, and then we can extend it by summoning the Great Buster. And the card we drew is Ash Blossom, so that's really good. Unfortunately, the Salamangreat Roar we have is pretty dead here, but however the Silent Mining for turn is pretty good as well. Having seen the Live Twins, I'm going to immediately Ash Blossom, because I don't want them to be able to go into their Live Twin line, at least not quite yet. I'm hoping they don't have a Sprite, but that's pretty unlikely, and here comes Spright-Live. Which means they pretty much have full combo, which is pretty rough for us, but I think we can come back from this. They already have the Jet too, so they are searching red, that's really bad, and they will search Smashers. They're going to activate Smashers, banish the Jet, and get rid of our Heat Soul. They're going to normal summon the red, and then they're going to XC summon into Gigantic Sprite. This is going to allow them to summon a level 2 from their deck, which will be the second Live Twin, and then they're going to go and link summon into Sprite-Elf. Now the Sprite-Elf can win back a level 2, which is going to be that second Live Twin so that they can start going into the Live Twin lines. They will go into Leela, activate Leela's effect to get back Chisachil, and then I imagine use Chisachil and Leela to date Evil Twin Chisachil, which is going to activate its effects and then get Leela back. On summon, Leela will trigger to pop our Great Buster. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to use this Truth effect because their attack points are actually lower than us. But that's fine because we actually live until the end of the turn. They have a lot of interaction here, but I think we have what it takes to come back. We're going to draw another Silent Minot, it doesn't matter, we only need the one. But it might as well be a discard fodder. We're going to discard it, and then immediately they are going to get red so that they can have a monster negate on board. Having seen that, I'm going to search a monster that doesn't have an effect on normal summon but has an effect in the graveyard. Because when I activate the monster effect, I want to have a link monster on board, which is why I'll immediately go into Unveiling and activate the effect. They will try to negate it with red, but do remember that we have the Salamangreat Roar set from the earlier turn, so we can use it to negate the red's effect and actually get our field spell, which is going to be quite important here. But more importantly than that, we have secured our Bailings, so that it's going to be able to use to link line further. They are going to use their Evil Twin Chisel to pop our field spell using their Leela. Actually, they're going to draw for the Bailings, but we have the second Bailings for that, so we can just protect it. Now we can use our Spinny and then extend it into a Sunlight Wolf. Sunlight Wolf can relink into another Sunlight Wolf, and that can get back a Salamangreat spell trap from our graveyard. And look at that, we had Salamangreat Circle from the first turn, so we're going to use it to search for an extender. We can get Salamangreat Mole, which is going to come up really good because it's going to come up later for its recycling effect, but for now we can just relink it into Salamangreat Heatleo. Don't really have any spell chips that we can run into, but at the very least we can get rid of this elf and just lock them into doing Evil Twin stuff. I'm pretty good about this because I don't think they can kill us, at least with what they already have on board. They're going to draw for a Lynch Summon and summon a Nightmare Unicorn. They even have the Alt-Art, which is pretty cool, but this means they can't actually kill us. They're going to destroy the Troll by the Grave, shuffle back our monsters, and put us on 200 life points. It's looking pretty bad for us with only an Ash Blossom in hand, but this Fortune on top really saves the day. But more importantly, we had the Mole in the graveyard anyway, so we can just shuffle back 5 cards into our deck and draw 2, just Pod of Avarice in addition to being an extender. It's so good. We draw a Flame Buffalo, so we can use it to cycle some of our cards from our hand. I'm going to pitch this Foxy as it's an extender for later on, and then immediately use it and fix this Foxer to summon the Foxy. Then we can Lynch Summon into Sunlight Wolf again, and then use the field spell to relink the Sunlight Wolf into another Sunlight Wolf, which is going to get back some of our spell traps from the graveyard. Also, Gore is going to trigger, which is really excellent here as it's going to set itself back, and we have another negated Judgment and Rage will going to pop their monster, Nightmare Unicorn. This has been a really lucky draws, but we have been really successful actually defeating Live from Sprite, and having seen their Unicorn run, they will just concede. So we're back with the deck, and wow, that actually went a lot better than I expected. I didn't think this set would have what it takes to compete with the likes of Sprite, but it sure does hold its own. More importantly, this deck actually has a lot of room to grow. The structure deck has a lot of good engine cards, but there's a lot of missing in the extra deck. You really don't need 3 triple Heatleo and triple Heat Soul, and even then you still have 3 more extra slots in the extra deck anyway. So what you can do is to fill it with strong Cyber cards, such as Ancestral Altar, and to climb into it, you can use cards such as Transfer Altar, and even cards like Splash Mage, but even as it is something that you can just take into rank. The main cons of this deck is that I mentioned previously that it doesn't have a really good payoff. Cards like Heatleo and Heat Soul are alright, without your traps and hand traps, this deck really fails to interact with your opponent. But this can just be fixed by upgrading the deck by just getting more cards, and if you already have a suite of hand traps, then it's much easier to upgrade the deck regardless. Overall, I would highly encourage anyone to try the deck, as I think it's highly underrated and it's still pretty strong in this current meta. But let me know which structure that you would like to see me cover next, and I'll see you in another video.